What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Draft Report. In today's video, we'll be talking about Oregon wide receiver Troy Franklin and where he should be selected in April. Let's get into it. Franklin's biggest strength as a player is his elite speed. Here he is lined up on the top left of the screen. Oregon's going to send this slot receiver in motion, causing this one high safety to come down and play the underneath area of the field, and that's going to leave a corner one-on-one press coverage with no safety over top against Franklin, which is pretty much asking for a touchdown, which, as we'll see, is going to happen because he possesses that elite speed. Great release off the line, and then gains a couple steps, showing that mid 4.3 estimated speed, takes it all the way to the house. We break down this release again. We see off the line he does a good job stutter stepping, thinking he's going to sell this outside. The corner freezes, and then Franklin's off, showing that elite acceleration and speed, getting to his top gear so quickly, and then taking it all the way to the house. Here's another example of Franklin's great speed, this time from the slot. He's going to run a little slot fade and try to get to the outside. Good job slowing down his release and then just bursting upfield. Corner has no chance, and he catches it over his shoulder. We see on this release, he's really slow coming off the line, and then once he decides to put his foot in the ground and go, he's just off. He's so quick off the line, and it just allows him to get upfield in a blur. It looks like you're watching in ×2 speed when you watch him run on these streak routes, and shows good ball tracking at the end here. Franklin also displays very good start-stop ability on the vertical plane, as we'll see here. This makes him very good on comebacks and curls like this play. He does a great job threatening the corner, showing his deep speed, and really getting good depth on this route before breaking it off right at the end, and then stopping on a dime to get back to the ball. Nix puts this ball a little bit outside, and Franklin has to go toe tap on the sideline. So we can see from this angle he shows great body control on the sideline, getting the feet in, taking the contact, and still getting those feet in for the catch. Franklin's a very good natural separator, but I don't think he's a super refined route runner as of now. Here he is lined up in the slot, and he's going to be running a little in-breaker over the middle, and he does a good job just accelerating off the line. You can see he threatens the defender so quickly off the line with his burst, but then it's just kind of a lazy route. He does a good job selling this upfield with this little false step here, but then he just relies on his athleticism and doesn't really burst out of this break or sell it at the top of the route. He just kind of rounds this off, and because he's so fast, it works out as he's able to make this catch. But he just doesn't possess a ton of nuance in his route running as of now. He does show flashes of good separation ability, especially on slant routes, as we'll see here. So we can see he's lined up on the outside right. He does a good job selling this outside and then snapping it back in quickly. We can see he kind of slow plays it to start, and then puts that foot in the ground and then just explodes out. Good 3 yards of separation for the touchdown. This is a great route, and if he can do this more often, he's going to be a threat over the middle of the field. This plays another good slant route from Franklin. Here he is on the bottom part of your screen on the outside. Does a good job with his release, slow playing it and really lulling his defender to sleep, and then he can just snap it off and break so aggressively, get on space and make the catch. Franklin is also very good at settling down against zone. Here he is in the slot again. This is going to be a choice route. He can either settle down and take the curl, or he can do the in-breaker. He does a good job selling that he's going to do the curl, making this defender take a false step to his right, and then exploding out, finding that hole in the zone between this linebacker and this linebacker, and giving himself a big target to make the catch through contact for Nix. Franklin's biggest limiting factor as a route runner is his high hips and lack of hip bend and flexibility. Here he is on the outside. He's actually going to make a very good catch on this play, but you can see this kind of like a little outside release that he's going to do a comeback on, and you can see right here he's facing towards the sideline. He's going to have to get all the way around, and he really has to take a lot of chop steps to completely turn around, and you can see just how slow his hips are and that he lacks a little flexibility when he's trying to turn and make breaks. He does a good job selling the defender because the defender gets fooled and falls to the ground, and then he makes a good catch, but you can just see turning all the way around is very laboring for him, and he really has to slow down his routes to get in and out of breaks. Franklin's biggest weakness is his lack of strength and mass. He stands 6'3", 185, making him one of the skinnier receivers as soon as he gets into the league, and this really hurts him at the catch point especially, as we'll see here. This time he's lined up on the bottom of your screen. He's going to do a little inside release fade, and you can really see his ability that speed and quickness again, then his ability to stack and get upfield. But then Nix puts this ball on him, and he's not able to make the catch, which this isn't a catch that, you're expecting him to make, but I'd really like to see him, as we see from this angle, instead of just trying to always track it over his back shoulder like he does here, I want to see him use that verticality and go up and jump and try to get it at the catch point. And I really think this is a limiting factor in his game. Even if he does try to catch this, he just lacks so much mass that bigger corners can go up and get it with him. And in the 4 games I watched, he never once tried to get it at try to high point the ball or get it at its apex. He just is always trying to track it and is very limited when it comes to catching through contact. Here's another example. This one's not too bad because he's probably not going to catch it because it's double coverage, but still, on this one you can see he's just trying to track it over that shoulder instead of jumping and going up and getting it, like high pointing the ball like a lot of guys would. He's just always trying to track it, and maybe if he jumps and high points it, he's able to hold on, but without doing that, he just has no chance to bring this one in. His thin frame also hurts him as a separator, as we'll see here. Oregon State's going to try to cover him with press man, and this defender gets contact early and then just completely throws Franklin off his route. You can see a good punch by the defender to get hands on his body, and then Franklin just doesn't have the ability to run through contact, and his route is just completely slowed down by this defender's punch and press. Here's another example against Washington State. We can see he's lined up outside on the right, and he does a good job with his release, avoiding the defender, but then as he gets upfield, the defender puts arms on his shoulder and just can completely control his route. At the end, he does a good job hand fighting and breaking away at the last second, but he just never gives Nix an opportunity to throw, and you can see he's very affected by the defender's contact. In college, he wasn't pressed very much because of how fast he is, but in the NFL, there's guys that can match his speed that are also like 200 pounds, and if he gets pressed by one of those guys, he just has no chance because he struggles so much with contact. Another area for concern for Franklin is his concentration drops. He had over a 6% drop rate this season, and this play just shows a good drop. Good route, gets open, Nix hits him in stride, and he just can't bring it in. We see from this angle, it's kind of hard to see, but we can tell this hits him in the hands in stride, and he just drops it. Franklin doesn't have bad hands, they're just inconsistent. We see a play like this where he shows very good ability to catch the ball with his hands and not with his body. Good little in route, finds the soft spot in the zone, and then the ball's out in front of him. He shows off that catch radius and those strong hands to go out and snag it and not rely on his body to bring it in. He also shows pretty strong hands through contact on short and intermediate routes. As we see here, he's lined up bottom of the screen. He's run a little in-breaker, doesn't get much separation. The defender's all over him, but he's still able to bring it in. We see from the other angle, defender's closing in on him. He's able to catch this. He does body catch this a little bit, but that's okay in some situations, and he's able to bring this in through contact. So overall, Troy Franklin's an elite athlete, showing mid 4.3 speed and great acceleration. But outside of that, I don't think he has an elite trait. His hands are inconsistent, not great. He can't catch through contact very well, especially on 50-50 balls when he has to high point them. His route running's okay, and he gets by because of his athleticism, but he's not the most nuanced, and he has some high hips that limit his ceiling as a route runner. And then he just can get pressed so easily off the line that if he's an outside receiver, bigger, faster, stronger guys are just going to be able to completely manhandle his reps. If he goes up against a guy like Sauce Gardner that's long and can keep up with him speed-wise, he just has no way to beat him as of now. I think he will improve because he is very young. He's not even 21 yet, so he has the ability to improve as a route runner, and I think he can get better in that aspect. And he's a pretty solid separator right now. Like I mentioned, he's so athletic that he just gets open naturally. And with a little more refinement, he can be an above average separator on underneath plays. But then his ability to settle down versus zone is pretty good. But, most guys can do that. That's nothing special. So I think overall, Franklin, he had a limited route tree at Oregon, which kind of worries me once he gets to the league. I do think he's very good and has a very high floor because of his speed. He'll immediately be a field stretcher that opens up the game for others, but I think that's pretty much what he's going to be. I don't think he has the tools to be a number one receiver in the league like a, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson type guy. He just doesn't have the complete game to do that, and most of that stems from his skinny frame. He's not a very good run blocker because of this as well, which isn't a huge deal, but, just another knock. So overall, I don't think he has the skills to be a number 1 receiver in the league. I think he'd be best suited as a number 2. He reminds me a lot of Robbie Chosen Anderson now with the Dolphins, but he also played for the Panthers and Jets, who, put up 1,000 yards in a season, a couple 900-yard seasons, a very good player, but was never like a Pro Bowler or an All Pro or anything like that because he just was so skinny and never really a true separator. I do worry about the drops a little bit with Franklin, a 6% drop rate. It's the second highest of any top tier receiver in this class, so that needs to get fixed. But drops come and go. They're um, not predictive of what's going to happen at the next level. So overall, Franklin, solid player. He's a 6.37 on my 8-point scale, making him a solid day 1 starter with a pretty low ceiling in my opinion. His speed makes him very good, but that's pretty much his only elite trait. I have him as a mid-second round pick, but I'd be willing to take him in the early second round. He'll probably go in the top 40 or 50 picks. And he's a very good complementary piece to an offense. I'd love to see him in a Shanahan-y type system using motion and not allowing him to get pressed off the line, getting him accelerating the space right off the snap. I think that'd be really useful for him. And he is versatile because he can play outside and in the slot, really threatening defenses that way. And he kind of forces defenses to play too high shells because he is so fast. So I think he's a very important piece to an offense, but his stats will never be that elite, and he'll never be a number 1 in the league. But he is a very solid player, in my opinion. So yeah, that's going to wrap up the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.